Hi everyone, so I'm here with the second part of the Snow White story, or maybe this is the first part if this is the one you're watching first. But my side of the story is a bunch of Disney released books where they talk about the villain and the hero side of the story. So I've already recorded the Snow White one, you guys can go check that out. But now we have the evil queen, or maybe she's not so evil because you can see in the book title, it's just the queen. And maybe she has a different viewpoint of what happened in the Snow White movie. So let's find out what her side of the story is. Chapter 1. It's not easy being a stepmom. And look at her, she looks like she's admiring Snow White. She even has a picture of Snow White on her wall. I don't think you have pictures of people you hate on your wall, right? Let's get a few things straight. I adored Snow White. I still do. Whatever you've heard that I am an evil stepmother who tried to harm her is completely false. It's a lie. Everything I did for her own good. And when I tell my side of the story, I know you'll believe me. First of all, unless you've raised a teenage girl yourself, you have no idea what an ordeal it can be. Teenage girls are lazy, impolite, they eat junk, and they dress like gypsies. I don't think that is not sure if the evil of the queen. I'm not sure if the queen is maybe the best mom with what she's saying, but let's hear her out. Let's see how she feels, even if we disagree with her. And they need constant supervision because the boy crazy. Snow White was a typical teen. Maybe you've heard differently. But if there's one thing I'm known for, it's being a straight shooter. So she says things as they are. She's a straight shooter. Second, I was her stepmother, and them stepmothers have a bad reputation. They're often called cruel or wicked. For some reason, the world hates them. Why? I don't know. Ms. Zenith knows quite a few. I know some stepmoms and stepdads who are really nice people. Finally, I'm a widow. I'm not asking for your sympathy, believe me, but when my husband died, I was left to raise Snow White, all by myself. I was a hard-working single parent who didn't get a speck of help from anybody. And when things went wrong, I got all the blame. Read on and see for yourself. And here we've got a newspaper from the witch about Hansel and Gretel. Hansel and Gretel, they say that the witch tried to eat them. A different fairy tale you might have heard. Chapter 2, Healthful Exercise. People have said I was vain, of course, but I wasn't, not in the least. I just happened to have the gift of true beauty. That silly magic mirror likes to tell me all day long, you're the fairest one of all, blah, blah, blah. I didn't know it. I'm just being honest. I guess because I take a healthy interest in my appearance, I expected Snow White to do the same. Oh, but how wrong I was. She wore the same ragged-looking dress day after day. She ate the most unhealthy food. She never ever exercised. I knew I had to take matters in my hand. My darling little stepdaughter needed discipline. She needed a regimen, a plan, a day-to-day routine. She needed exercise, and in short, she needed my help. And I was going to give it to her, whether she liked it or not. I spoke to her right away. You're a great girl, I said. You need exercise. Start by hauling 100 buckets of water down to the dungeon. I renovated after the funeral, and now it's my office. To my amazement, Snow White wasn't the least bit grateful. Here I was, giving her the opportunity to get some muscle tone and burn off all kinds of calories, and she whined. She said the work was hard. After 30 trips up and down the stairs, she even pretended to faint. I am nothing if not reasonable, so I let her rest for a few moments. Then I gave her the easiest job in the palace, which was washing the front steps. It's great aerobic exercise. I'd love to do it myself if only I had the time, and I thought she'd be pleased. But wrong again. I stepped away for a moment to consult my mirror, and when I returned, Snow White had stopped working. She was lounging on the steps, staring into space and humming. Then, and this really rattled me, she started talking to the birds. No wonder I worried about her. I mean, well, maybe, I don't know. Disney princesses always seem to talk to animals, but I don't ever see any other people talk to them. Do you guys talk to animals? People think you're a bit strange or very cool for talking to animals. Seems like the queen thinks Snow White's a bit off her rocker for speaking to animals. And she's just saying, oh, she needs to do exercise. Do you guys like doing exercise? Chapter 3, A Wholesome Diet. Oh my, it looks like the queen is really controlling what Snow White eats and does every day. Things got worse. The next day, she was supposed to be scrubbing the kitchen floor and found Snow White gobbling down a piece of cake. Give that to me, I demanded, snatching it away. Cake is unsuitable for growing girls. It's full of fat and sugar and it will rot your teeth down to nubbins. She sounds like a dentist. And I reminded her how lucky she was to be on her new diet of bread and gruel. It couldn't be healthier, low in sugar and fat-free and full of trace minerals. Our livestock thrives on it. If I'd be on it too if it weren't for my allergies. I'm not sure that's a balanced diet. And fats are not all bad, if you guys know. Fats are actually needed in your body to grow your brain and lots of other parts in your body. You need fat. After a month or two, I promise, you'll be as strong as a bull. You'll be taking the stairs like a mountain goat 3 at a time with 4 buckets. Won't that be wonderful? She said nothing, but the answer was written all over her unhappy little face. She wasn't grateful at all. Chapter 4, the K word. I'll be honest, my feelings were hurt. But did I scold Snow White? No. Did I punish her? No. I simply instructed her to finish scrubbing the floor at her own pace, however fast or slow as she wanted, I might add, before she took the rest of the day off. After that, I told myself she could talk to the birds until she grew a beak for all I cared. Meanwhile, I retired to the palace. I checked my magic mirror, and its message was loud and clear. Frightful! It even told me that Snow White was looking more attractive than I was. The awful stress of dealing with my ungrateful stepdaughter was taking its toll on me. I decided to take matters into my own hands. So I decided to have a spa day. I cancelled all my appointments and arranged for a massage and a seaweed wrap. Then, helped by meditation and aromatherapy, smelling good smells, I fell into a deep, much-needed sleep. She's got a spa robe on. She's got a face mask made of seaweed. The next morning, I awoke completely refreshed. I was just about to consult my magic mirror to make sure I was once again the fairest one of all when I heard a noise in the courtyard. I looked out the window. I saw Snow White at the well with her little bird friends. However, she wasn't drawing water. She was smiling, blushing, and a young man who was standing a little too close to her. The sight filled me with alarm. You know how boy-crazy young girls can be. I crept close to the window to get a good look. What I saw was quite shocking. The young man seemed to have quite a keen interest in Snow White. He couldn't take his eyes off her. But why? I had a chilling thought. What if the stranger had criminal intentions? What if he was a bad person? What if he meant to do Snow White harm? He could be a kidnapper. The K word. Looking down at him, I thought of all the little girls who had dropped out of sight recently. Little Red Riding Hood had disappeared. Belle from Beauty and the Beast. And that cute little Thumbelina. Oh, I shuddered, shaking, fearing the worst. Snow White might be lazy, and she might be needing a better attitude, but I couldn't bear to think that she might be in danger. I had to protect her. I fairly flew down the stairs because of how fast I was trying to run, but by the time I reached Snow White, the stranger had gone. I was so relieved. My stepdaughter, however, felt differently. She had a bad case of the boy crazies and moped around for days. Moping is like being really sad. Shirking her chores, she wasn't doing them. I didn't know what to do. I started worrying again, and the things took a turn for the worse. The magic mirror told me in no uncertain terms. Snow White is the fairest one of all, it said. But what about me? I asked. You need a makeover, it replied, and I nearly wept. Oh, all this stress was making me look worse. Right about then, I began to think perhaps a change of scenery might suit my dear little stepdaughter. She needed to get over her love sickness and hop back on that healthy bandwagon. You can't be healthy if you're sad. Did that nice old gingerbread woman who lived in the gingerbread house, you know, the one who loved Hansel and Gretel, have any room, I wondered? She lived on the other side of the forest, at least 2 days' walk from the palace. And that's when I thought of Brad. I called him Brad, the huntsman, because he was always roaming the forest, hunting for mushrooms. He was a sweet man. Even though he wasn't the sharpest knife in the scullery, he's not the most clever man, he knew the woods like the back of his hand. And Brad was just the person I needed. He could take Snow White deep into the forest on a brisk nature walk. He could hunt for mushrooms, she could pick wildflowers. Perfect. A long hike in the fresh air was bound to clear her head, I thought, and it would get her out of the palace for a few hours. It was a real plus. I sent them off quickly. I don't mean to sound harsh, but I needed a break. Instead, I got a massive shock because Brad came back from the forest 2 hours later and he was alone. Snow White had run away. Do you mean she ran away? I demanded as Brad stood before me with his head bowed in shame. You were supposed to take care of her, and she's a danger out there. How could you let her wander off? And don't tell me it's because of how many great mushrooms you found, Brad, because I don't care. And at this, the poor man burst into tears. And I realized it was pointless to scold him. Brad had done his best, and to give him credit, he had found some excellent organic wild mushrooms that were very beautiful and looked very tasty. But Snow White had outwitted him. She'd run away, who knows why, and now she was alone and defenseless in a place teeming with wild animals and possibly kidnappers. There was only one way to rescue her, and I would have to do it myself. I've heard so many ridiculous lies about the day I call Operation Save Snow White that I hardly know which one to tackle first. Perhaps I should start with the silliest one of all, that I used black magic to disguise myself so Snow White wouldn't recognize me. Nonsense! It's true that I didn't wear my crown or my robes or my jewels that day, but why would I? To impress the chipmunks? No, I wore loose-fitting clothes and sturdy, comfortable shoes, suitable for the outdoors. If I didn't do my hair or put on my makeup, well, excuse me, I was going on a rescue mission, not a court visit. So I set off into the forest. I would get a good hike in and do a good deed. What a great day I had in store. Another silly rumor about the day is that I used black magic to find Snow White. Ridiculous. I didn't need it. She's a teenager, remember? All I had to do was follow the trail of hair bows and bubblegum wrappers straight to the little cottage in the forest. That story about how I created a poison apple in the castle? Vicious gossip. I met a peddler along the way. He sold me a basket of shiny apples. Maybe I should have made sure they were organic and pesticide-free, but I didn't. Nobody's perfect all the time. Well, Snow White was actually quite glad to see me, which was a pleasant surprise. She invited me in right away, and soon we were chatting comfortably by the fire. She told me she liked my simple homespun clothes, and I looked a lot less intimidating without makeup. Really? I asked. I was so touched. Yes, she said, and then she offered me some of that gooseberry pie. I may have mentioned my concerns about Snow White's health earlier. The girl just didn't know how to eat, and this was a perfect example. Pie for lunch? Just pie, I cried in dismay. How lucky I'd run into that peddler. Nothing could be worse for you. Damn that pie. Have some nice fresh fruit instead. Eat this apple. I offered her the shiniest one in the basket, knowing it would supply many vitamins and minerals so essential for normal growth. So yes, that's why I gave her the apple, out of concern for her health. People have said I was trying to hurt her, even kill her, but they're wrong. And when Snow White fell into a death-like swoon, it's true that I ran away, but only to find her a good gastroenterologist. She must have had something like food poisoning. Maybe she didn't wash her hands. I never expected the search to take so long. You'd be surprised how very few good doctors live in the forest. And once you do find them, they refuse. They don't want to make house calls and come to the house. It's shocking. Well, after hours of fruitless searching, I returned to the cottage and it was empty. She's gone, I thought. There's nothing else I can do. So I began my mournful journey back to the palace, thinking I would never see Snow White again. That I would definitely sue that peddler who'd sold me those apples. And to my amazement, I was suddenly being chased by seven of the nastiest little men you'd ever seen, shouting insults, claiming I had tried to harm their precious Snow White. They actually chased me off to a rocky cliff. Me, the Queen. Lightning crashed. I fell thousands of feet. Luckily, I landed on a patch of soft moss and only suffered a bruise or two. Nothing very serious. As I told you, I'm very healthy. With that strong body, she didn't get hurt. An apple a day health food store. Now that you've heard my side of the story, I hope you'll think more kindly of me. Living in exile because I've been banished. The dwarves instigated a coup and I was disposed. So the dwarves, they made her have to give up her throne. Isn't so bad. I do miss the power of the throne, but I don't miss all the stress and the pressure that go with any busy ruler's job. And I love giving the customers personal attention, especially when they need advice about what to eat. Maybe you'll drop by sometime? The end. What do you guys think of the queen side of the story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I definitely did. I actually read this story when I was a little kid, and my dad was the one who showed me this book. And this is actually how we know about the series, because after thinking about the classics we did a little bit ago, I thought of also this book series, My Side of the Story, since it is officially released by Disney, and a very fun book that even years later, I remembered that picture that you saw just now of the queen at the food store. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye from Miss Senna.